Good morning. We're getting toward the end. Hang in there. On page 238, bottom paragraph. Revolution in general, the overthrow of the existing ruling power, and the dissolution of existing social relationships is a political act. Okay, we've already seen what the conditions or the ingredients necessary for a revolution are, but so we won't do that again. Without revolution, socialism cannot develop. Okay, there's something. What is socialism? Socialism is the state owns, controls the basic means of production in the society. Bernie Sanders is a self-described socialist. I don't think so. Not according to this definition of socialism. No, I've never heard him advocate that the government own and control the basic industries in the society, the railroads, the electricity, everything. All the major or the basic means of production in the society. I've never heard him say anything like that. Okay, it requires this political act as it needs the overthrow and the dissolution, right? Okay, remember the revolution is going to have to take care of what does the revolution get rid of? Well, it gets rid of private property. Well, remember, it's private property that causes alienation, right? So if you get rid of causes, so if you get rid of private property, you get rid of alienation, right? However, remember, it's not simply. Let's go on a little further. But as soon as the organizing activity begins, and as soon as its purpose and spirit come to the fore, socialism sheds this political covering. Okay. There is a basic problem with socialism. In other words, socialism, the state owns, well, remember what the state is. That's the organizing structure of the society. Okay, now, the problem is that when the state attempts to own and control major segments of the economy, those segments tend to be run rather poorly. In other words, one of the reasons why, in present-day China, the state-owned industries are notoriously poorly run and have to be fed money constantly, which of course wrecks the banks. Similarly in Russia, right? Russia long ago discarded state-owned industries and had them bought out by private oligarchs. With the rise of Putin, etc. Its state-run industries tend to be poorly run. Right? I don't think we have any, strictly speaking, state-run industries in the United States. Politically, it's difficult for the state to run anything. Right? In other words, the only reason that America has survived as long as it has is not because it's efficiently run. I mean, at the moment, the political divide between is absolutely devastating. In fact, that is not aided in dealing with the problem of the coronavirus, not in the least. The reason why America has survived as long as it has is not because its system is better than that of, say, England and the British Empire in the previous couple centuries back. John Bull muddles through, right? England did the same thing that we're doing. The reason why we're able to get away with it is because we are the largest, we are the richest economy that has ever existed in the world, right? That's right. That's why we can get away. That's why our government can get away with a great deal of waste and inefficiency. We're a very rich country. You got a cushion. Okay, over on the next page, 239. About the sixth line down. Of all the instruments of production, the greatest productive force is the revolutionary class itself. Oh, yeah. The organization of the revolutionary elements as a class proposes that all the productive forces which could develop within the old society have developed. Okay, remember, Marx is an internationalist, right? So that it's not simply socialism that he's interested in, it's international socialism. In other words, he wants this system to be pervasive throughout the world. Does this mean that the downfall of the old society will be followed by a new class domination, expressing itself in a new political power, as Hegel might have had it? Marx says, no, right? Remember, when you destroy the role of private property in the society, right? There's another thing that has to be destroyed. You have to the proletariat. The proletariat also has to be destroyed, right? If you remember, back on page 232, if I can find it. Oop. He said, if the proletariat triumphs, this does not mean that it becomes the absolute form of society. Right? No, it is simply a changing of the guard, which is what Hegel said a revolution would do, right? And that's why it was necessarily a failure. For it is only victorious by abolishing itself as well as its opposite. You have to get rid of the enemy, yep, but you also have to get rid of the proletariat, right? In other words, I mean, what are we looking toward? A class-less society. That's the ideal of the Marxist vision of reality. Okay, back to our story. So, does this mean that the downfall of the old society will be followed by a new class domination? In other words, by the proletariat? No way. Expressing itself in a new political power? No. The condition for the emancipation of the working class is the abolition of all classes. All classes. Just as the condition of the emancipation of the third estate, okay, that was the cities and the commoners in England, of the bourgeois order, was the abolition of all estates and orders. Well, okay, who were the estates were the royalty and the clergy. They became the House of Lords. But however, the clergy and the lords necessarily, at least in the 19th century in England, outvoted commons, right? Of course, the situation would totally reverse itself as England learned that the system didn't work, basically. Okay, moving right along. Page 240, he says, the reign of terror in France, about the middle of the page there. The reign of terror in France could only serve, therefore, to clear away from the soil of France, through its powerful blows, the remnants of feudalism. Okay? The remnants of feudalism. Okay? This is France, okay? Well, the aristocrats, right, and many of whom were, and the clergy, especially the aristocrats, guillotined. Okay. The anxious and considerate bourgeoisie would never have completed this task in decades. Right? Remember, it was the French Revolution. The French Revolution is a revolution of the bourgeoisie. Okay, bourgeoisie. Okay, the bloody action of the people thus only prepared the way for it. Similarly, the collapse of the absolute monarchy, right? Remember, Louis the 16th. Louis the 16th lost his head. Okay, so similarly, the collapse of the absolute monarchy would have been temporary, right? So in other words, somebody else would have taken his place. Louis the 17th, presumably, had not economic conditions for the rule of the bourgeois class already ripened, right? The bourgeoisie was already well established in society, and basically they overthrew the king. And of course, they had prepared themselves to be the successors to the social system under Louis. And which meant, of course, the French Revolution was essentially a bourgeois revolution. Okay. Men do not build themselves in a new world out of the fruits of the earth, as vulgar superstition believes, right? But out of the historical accomplishments of their declining civilization. In other words, there are no total negations, right? And Marx would have to agree with that. Because you've still got the same territory, you've still got the same climate, you've still got the same ethnic groups, the same social structure, basically. Okay. They must, in the course of their development, begin by themselves producing the material conditions of a new society. And no effort of mine or will can free them from this destiny. Well, okay, now let's take a look. Where did the Marx's revolution happen, right? Marx was, how should I put it? Well, let's go back to the Theses on Feuerbach, back on page 69, number 11. The philosophers have only interpreted the world. Philosophers read Hegel and his followers in different ways. The point is to change it, right? Okay? The philosophers have only interpreted the world, the way things were before things are the way they are, right? One of the students wrote something about on Hegel's owl of Minerva taking flight in the he put the philosophers get to the pier. And the ship has already sailed way out to sea. In other words, philosophers always come too late to do anything about things, right? According to Hegel. And and which is probably accurate. Anyway, so we've got the Marxist Revolution. Okay, the point is to change it. So Marxist Revolution, where was it supposed to happen? It was supposed to happen where in countries where there was capitalism and therefore alienation, right? Capitalism means private property. Is that where the Marxist Revolution, well, it was supposed to happen where? Obviously, in England, above all, and in Germany. They were the predominant industrial nations of the time, right? But where did it happen? Incidentally, okay, where did it happen? Well, it happened in feudal societies. It happened in Russia. It happened in China. It happened in Vietnam, right? North Korea, okay, etc., right? Basically feudal societies. Now you'd say, well, why did the Marxist Revolution, it was supposed to happen in places like England and France, okay? Marx was a very poor prophet, right? It didn't happen in England and France where it was supposed to happen, the revolution, but it happened in feudal societies where it wasn't supposed to happen, and that's where it happened. And what it meant was that the Marxist Revolution destroyed feudalism in those countries, right? And replaced it with a, what should we call it? A different sort of economy. Well, an economy which was able to rapid economic development through centralization. Right? 5-year plans, okay, in Russia. There were any number of 5-year plans that were quota systems for workers, right? In other words, it was basically, it was a centralized economy, right? A centralized economy. The advantage of that is that you can change a society much more quickly that way. Above all, a feudal type society, which is which was the case in Russia, right? You can bring about the economic advancement of feudal economies much more quickly and much more effectively, right? Because the whole business is centralized. I mean, it's centralized. It was under the control of the commissariat, right? A committee, right? And sometimes a central individual too. Right? Okay, so let's. However, Hegel remains right. Do you really bring about a change, right? In other words, you get rid of Louis XVI, but who do you get? Napoleon, right? What's the difference between Louis XVI and Napoleon? Well, Napoleon was a better general. Napoleon was a very good general. However, so far as the society was concerned, I mean, what is that famous French phrase? Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. The more it changes, the more it remains the same, right? So in Russia, what? You get rid of the Tsar, I always used to spell it C-Z-A-R, but I guess the more politically correct spelling is Tsar. Anyway, you get rid of the Tsar, and who do you get? You get, I don't know. Who do you get? You get Lenin. Whoop. You get Stalin. Ooh. Stalin is kind of a throwback to Ivan the Terrible. Ooh. And then you get, and well, who do you have now? Right? Putin. Has the structure of the society of Russia changed? The economy, for a while, it pulled the economy of Russia or the society, Russian society out of feudalism and into a capitalist industrial age. Okay. However, did the basic structure of society change? You'd have to say no. I mean, the Tsar becomes the commissar. Becomes Putin. Right? In other words, the Russian society basically stays the same. Okay. Let's see. Let's go. Well, Marxist Revolution didn't happen where it was supposed to happen. Remember? Marx is a very poor prophet. Hegel said you couldn't predict the future. Well, Marx thought you could, but he was a rather poor predictor of the future. The way things turned out was not or where the revolution was supposed to happen is not where it happened. And the type of system relative to which it would happen, namely capitalism. Where's capitalism? Well, private property right there. Was not in England or Germany, but rather in feudal type societies. Okay, and what's the problem with the state ownership and control of the basic means of production in the society? You get total inefficiency, right? Also, there's another element too. What happens to nature, right? When you take Marx's view that what is nature is raw material. Does Marxism care about the environment? Not in no way, shape, or form. The countries in which Marxism flourished are exactly the countries where the worst degradation of the environment occurs. As far as Marx is concerned, nature is simply raw material for industry. The environmental movement never got off the ground in the socialist type countries. Incidentally, the inefficiency of the socialist type system type countries, in other words, where the state owns the basic means of production in the society, they all tend to be run terribly inefficiently. And this was true not only in Russia, it was true in China. It is true in China, right? The state-run industries are those that need constant support from the state banking system, and of course that puts the state banking system in holding a lot of bad debt. Similarly, in Russia too, or in the Eastern European countries, where you had a command type economy, centralized, a command economy, the same sort of difficulty occurs, right? It's very good. I mean, one thing about a command economy, you can do things very quickly and quite often very efficiently. But, for example, the Russians launched Yuri Gagarin into orbit around the Earth, right? And I forget his name, Khrushchev told the American people, look up into the sky, you will see Yuri circling the Earth, which proves, of course, the superiority of the Russian system of government. Anyway, it's perfectly true. You can do things very quickly and very efficiently if you have a command-type economy. The problem is that it results in economic dislocation, right? If you're putting all your eggs in one basket, they're all in one basket. And that means there are a lot of other people around who are not getting their Easter eggs. Lots of other parts of the economy that are not being taken care of. For example, health. Anyway, so you can have a command economy and it can do something much more quickly than the United States would be able to do because of our system of checks and balances and everything else. Okay, but and the only reason why, again, why we get away with it is because we happen to be the richest country in the history of the world. On that happy note, let's quit. And next time we'll take a look at the future society. And of course, the future of society is a society which has got no class. Oh, no, it may have class, but it has no classes. We'll see. Okay, we'll see you for, I think next time will be the last time.